Christopher Guith on the line. He's the Vice President of Policy at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Institute for 21st Century Energy. That is a mouthful, but it's a huge job, isn't it?
It is. We focus on trying to educate the public on our current energy realities, and it is a handful and a mouthful.
Yeah, realities here in Ohio. A lot of people very excited about the Marcellus and Utica Shale. Give me a thumbnail. Say in the next 10 years, what kind of economic impact is that going to have for Ohioans?
It's astounding. We just partnered with a bunch of other groups and had IHS, a leading economic firm, do the modeling the first time across the country. And looking at Ohio alone, between now and 2020, we're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 144,000 jobs, something on the order of $18 billion in additional economic growth. And probably the most important, in 2020, $4.5 billion in state and local government revenue, the money that will stay in Columbus and go to the counties and municipalities and support first responders and infrastructure, the things that Ohioans expect their government to provide.
Yeah, and given that you're a U.S. Chamber of Commerce look, can you put it in perspective compared to what we're seeing in the Dakotas right now? I had a report earlier that they're booming so big there. They're paying like $17 an hour for people to work at Walmart.
It's very true. I've been there several times, and I'm actually going there tomorrow. You literally can't walk down the street in Bismarck without seeing a help wanted sign. In fact, I met a gentleman who owns a couple of McDonald's franchises where he actually has to offer a 1-year contract for a clerk or a cash register operator and give them a $500 bonus, and they're still getting paid over $12 an hour just because people won't stay in a normal job like that when they can go out to the oil fields and make in excess of $50,000-$60,000 with just a GED. And if you have any sort of background or training at all, you're talking about in excess of $100,000.
So do you get a sense that that's going to happen in eastern Ohio too, or is it not going to be that quick or that explosive a growth?
Well, I think it will be as quick. I mean, we're still in the early stages of knowing precisely what kind of oil and gas is where. I mean, we knew what was going on in the Bakken for the better part of 40 or 50 years. I mean, there had been lots of drilling there. We just didn't know how to get it out of the ground economically. And so once that technology was perfected, it was an easy start. Now in Ohio, I mean, so far, the results are very good. We've only drilled somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 wells. I mean, it may sound like a lot, but that's a tiny, tiny fraction. I mean, if you look at the Bakken, it's well in excess of 5,000 wells. So we're still trying to figure out how big it really is, how much, and a lot of it depends on how much of it is oil, how much of it is gas. I mean, industry has been so successful in the last 5 years that it's now suffering from its own success in that there's so much natural gas. It's brought the price so far down that they can't afford to drill for it because it costs more to drill for it than what they can sell it for. Hopefully, once the economy starts recovering and we find ways to utilize that gas besides just normal, the way we do it in our homes and in the businesses, perhaps exports, perhaps transport, that can help induce people or industry to drill a little bit more. But what we're really hoping on in the Utica is the liquids, the natural gas liquids, and especially the oil. And so far, the results are pretty darn good. And if those results continue and the sort of regulatory environment doesn't change in a way that would make it more expensive to drill, then we fully expect to see Ohio climb and jump the way that we saw North Dakota jump over the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so is it necessary then if I want to feel the full benefit, I'm going to have to relocate and maybe be over around Steubenville to see that, or is that going to mushroom out and really benefit the entire state, do you think?
Well, it already is benefiting the entire state, and that's perhaps one point that I would love to make is that the supply chain in the oil and gas industry is just tremendous. And even though we've only seen a little bit of actual drilling in the grand scheme of things, we already have somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 jobs in Ohio. And that's because the supply chain is supporting surrounding states. It's supporting Pennsylvania. It's supporting West Virginia. Now, obviously, the drilling's happening in Ohio. Those jobs are being created even more quickly. But the fact is that if you look at the multiplier effect, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of for every one job out in the oil fields, every one direct job, there's probably somewhere between 4 and 5 jobs supporting it, either in sort of a environmental service to treat the water, or maybe an engineering shop, and then the people who support all of it, the people who are running the hotels and the shops and the restaurants that wouldn't have jobs if there weren't this new activity going on. So yes, the the impact is going to be felt the most in eastern, especially the right through the area where it's happening now, from like you said, Steubenville, Youngstown, all the way down through the to the southeast. But it's going to keep coming further west as it gets bigger and bigger, because it just needs the resources. It needs the support system from the mechanic shops and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then the one thing we haven't even talked about yet is sort of the end result. The end result of having all of this new oil and gas is the sort of manufacturing renaissance, which we've already seen in the steel industry. When you have so many, 5 now, I think, steel mills coming out of mothball, and maybe 2 new ones being built, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, they had the incentive early on because they're producing pipes that are needed for this industry. But when you see the sort of petrochemical stuff that is being announced now, the new facilities that literally cost billions of dollars and take a couple years to build, you don't enter into those decisions lightly. And at this point, just nationwide, we're looking at over $80 billion in announced projects. I think most people in Ohio are familiar with the cracker that Shale is looking to build, but ultimately ends up going into Pennsylvania. That's still going to be a tremendous boon to Ohio, to have that resource, to have that facility right across the border, and to be able to get the product to market for much cheaper without having to truck it or pipe it all the way down to the Gulf Coast.
Well, I guess from our perspective, Christopher, it can't come too quick. If you can give us those kind of stories we're getting out of the Dakotas, we'll absolutely take it. That's Christopher Guith. He's the Vice President of Policy at the U.S.